This is the Firecrawl MCP server. It gives your agent the ability to search, crawl, and scrape the internet, and it does this much better than the built-in defaults that come with your agent harness. In fact, you don't even need an API key to get started, which I'll show you how to do later on in the video. But I think this solves a huge problem with AI that most people have been blaming on the model. Let me explain. So typically, when you install a coding agent like Claude Code or Codex, it comes with its own built-in tools for WebSearch and WebFetch. So you may be thinking, what's the point of the Firecrawl MCP server? Well, these tools are pretty basic. I mean, if we take a look at the WebFetch tool that comes with Claude Code, for example, it just gives your model a list of URLs and titles from a search. The agent still has to open the URL and go through the raw HTML just to read it. And this is made much worse with JavaScript-heavy sites since it can't render them at all, meaning the model has to go through its training data or just guess, which tends to give you a wrong answer, and people blame this on the model itself. But this is where Firecrawl comes in, because it searches the web like a real browser and hands back the full page content in clean markdown, so it can do the job of searching and fetching in one step, even on JavaScript-heavy pages. And it can even pull data straight off the page as structured JSON, so the agent gets the exact fields it needs. In fact, let's go through a quick demo. Now, the Firecrawl documentation goes through exactly how you can install the MCP server with most harnesses and agentic tools out there. But for this video, we're going to be focusing on Claude Code, which you can install with this command if you have an API key, and if you don't, you can just remove this text. Now, what this command does is it points your agent to Firecrawl's hosted server on a remote URL, meaning you don't have to install anything locally. So with the MCP server set up, I can ask a question like, what is Vercel Eve? And we can see here Claude Code isn't certain, so it's doing a search with Firecrawl, and it gives a more detailed explanation of what Vercel Eve is, which we'll go through in a second. But there is a huge chance that this may not happen to you because Claude Code may fall back to use the default WebSearch and WebFetch tools, and you can fix that in one of three ways. The first thing you could do is explicitly tell the agent to use Firecrawl in your prompt, which of course isn't ideal. So instead, you could add some deny rules to Claude Code to prevent it from using the default WebSearch and WebFetch tool. But if you did want to use the default tools, then this could be a bit awkward. So if you do want to use Firecrawl as your main search and fetch tool, which you definitely should, but you do want to fall back to the default Claude fetch and search tools for any reason, then you could add this to your main Claude MD or your project specific one. For now, I've just decided to update the rules to deny these tools. So now if we go back to the output from Claude Code, we can see here that on its own, the agent decided to make a search MCP call with a limit of 8 for Vercel Eve. And just from that one call, it's able to get a detailed understanding of the tool. Now, at the moment, this isn't too different from what regular Claude Code can do. So let's try something else. This Shopify site is showing me products in pounds because I'm based in the UK. But if I scrape it with the default Claude Code tools, it returns prices in dollars and then converts it to pounds, which is incorrect in some cases. For example, this bag is showing around £170 when it's actually 118. Firecrawl instead can scrape based on location as if I'm browsing from that country, meaning it shows correct prices, which is ideal if you want your agent to do research for flights, travel, clothing, or anything else. But we can also do some very cool things with Firecrawl, like for this prompt to give me the exact pricing details from the Vercel website. Instead of it scraping everything from the site, the agent decided to use JSON just to extract the relevant information. All of these things are very cool. But my personal favorite features of the Firecrawl MCP server is its ability to take screenshots and grab brand assets from a website. So I ran a prompt earlier for Claude Code to clone the new Vercel website using Astro instead of Next.js, and asked it to use Firecrawl to grab screenshots and to grab brand assets from the website. So here, this is the current Vercel website, And this is the new one that Claude Code built using assets and screenshots that Firecrawl had grabbed. Now, I know they're not exactly the same. I mean, if we take a look at the logos for both, it's missing the drop shadow effect. And we can see here that some of the colors for the text used in the Astro version doesn't match the Next.js version. But for a clone of the Vercel website, this has done a very good job. I mean, the brand logos are the exact same ones that are used on the Vercel website, and the footer contains tons of information. The links even go to the right places, and the light and dark theme toggles work perfectly. So that's a very quick overview of the Firecrawl MCP server. And there are so many things I didn't even go through, like starting a research agent, interacting with a scraped page, and much more. And if you use a harness that doesn't support tool search or dynamic tool loading, and you're worried about token usage with an MCP server, then Firecrawl also has a CLI, which you can learn all about in this video. And I highly recommend you checking it out, even if you're not wanting to use a CLI, because it goes through some really cool things that you can do to save tokens in general.